Irrespective of how many votes you carry as a party, I think it's really important to show respect and to go and talk to the designated spokespeople in each of those parties, and I did that. So I spoke to Paula Bennett, and I spoke to the Greens, Jan Logie and ACT, and all of them thought it was a great idea. So it was really lovely to have a bill where you have unanimous support for making a change that benefits predominantly women.
Hi, Graham Bloxham for Wellington Live and Wellington in Your Pocket. We've come into Parliament today to talk with Ginny Andersen, MP for the Hutt, Central Hutt, and we were walking past, seeing the new grass growing, the slide back in operation, still fenced off, but I think in 6 weeks or so I think we'll be coming back. Thank you for having us in here and for having a catch up to celebrate Wellington's women. And what have you been up to? What's been happening in the last sort of short period?
What's been happening? Well, we've been busy in the House with lots of legislation. I chair the Justice Committee, so we've had quite a few bills coming through there. I've had my own private members bill, the second one I've been working on. And I'm always busy with constituent work, so a lot of work in the Hutt, sort of helping people on a day-to-day basis in that space.
And in the Hutt's on fire. It's just down the road, 20 k's down the road. Take us through what's happening with the cycle lanes.
It's really exciting to see the Hutt developing its own cycle network, not just one or two, but we're actually getting parts that will connect up so you can get safely from one side of the city to the other without having to worry about getting hit by a car or putting your kids in danger if you've got them with you on a bike. So really encouraging. Te Ara Tupua, which is the big one, all the way from Wellington into the Hutt. That's going to be a significant piece of infrastructure that will be hugely important for increasing people on a bike or other means to be able to get to and from Wellington.
How do you deal with people that really want to put the boot into the cycle lane? They say it's a waste of money, we shouldn't be investing in cycle lanes. Yeah,
I'd say get an e-bike, because if you don't want to ride a bike, then an e-bike's a really good way. We're changing, we're totally changing as a society in terms of how we view transport, and part of that transition to moving away from cars, you're going to get some pushback, and that's part of what the job is. It's about advocating for a better future and making it easier for people to make better transport choices.
What's good about the Hutt? Why?
Oh, what's not good about the Hutt?
You strode against an MP out there, the Peter. What was the guy who you had to go against, and then you?
Initially, when I first did in 2014 in Ohariu, and then 2017 I got into Parliament on the list, and then in the last election I won Hutt South. So incredibly hard, but great job.
And your area encapsulates Wanui.
Wanuiamata, Petone, which is amazing, all of the Western Hills, Belmont, where I live up in the bush, Belmont Regional Park, and then around Avalon Park and on the edge of Nainai is where it finishes. So all of that sort of central Hutt area is encompassed.
Would you say you're a community leader?
I'd like to think so, but then I think being a leader, it's about doing the work as well. It's being able to roll your sleeves up and get stuck in and do stuff when you see. And I'd say the bigger part of being a leader is just joining people up. Is like finding those dots, and that's the lucky part of being an MP. You're going to all those places. So if you find two people that can solve each other's problem, that's actually a big part of what your job is.
When did you know you were a leader? When did you get as an MP? Did you as a woman, as a business person or a government worker?
Well, my mum got asked this question. So she said she remembers me in third form when I first started high school, and that was Marion Hobbs was the principal in Avonside. Wow. And evidently I looked at the board where head girl is, and there was I counted up to see if I could fit in on the old board, and I counted and I could just make it in by that year. Yeah. And sure enough, by the end of the 5 years I got to be head girl under Marion Hobbs. So I've always, I guess, have put my hand up to do things, and I've been really lucky to have strong support from family, and particularly my mother, who's quite a strong woman and a leader in her own right. So I guess I was lucky enough to be given a strong start in those spaces.
Kids?
I have 4 children. I have 2 stepchildren, aged 20 and 18, the older ones. Both got jobs now, which is very exciting.
They'll be paying some rent, or are they out on their own?
Yeah, one's still at home. So, and then we've got 2 who are 7, turning 8 and 10. So full range there.
That's busy.
Yeah, it is. It is busy. Yeah, and I part of being, I guess, part of my pride in terms of what I've managed to do is really strike that good balance between including my family in a lot of my work. So particularly on the weekend, if you're going to school fairs or community events, I love to take my kids with me, and they really enjoy coming as well. And I think they're richer for it. I took my daughter to a graduation of an Indian traditional school of dance on Sunday night, and we both dressed in traditional clothing and were warmly embraced, and shared food and those sorts of things. Your kids typically wouldn't be able to do. So I feel lucky that I've got that ability to do that.
You must have to speak a lot of languages and fit into different environments. Does it ever get, you're always giving yourself and making these connections and coming into this place here with the thick walls and the plaques everywhere? I mean, does it ever feel tiresome or?
Well, in terms of language, I learnt to speak Māori when it was not popular. So in Christchurch, which wasn't renowned for its ethnic diversity back in the 80s, it's probably changed a lot. But I learnt Māori at school, and I learnt right through university. So learning a different framework, and I guess it gave me an appreciation of how important it is to look through someone else's eyes, or at least have a go at doing that. So, and I find that fascinating. So no, I never get tired of learning and doing new things. Is probably what keeps me keen and interested in doing the job. Well,
you've obviously got a wicked energy, and so if you were to give yourself some advice as a 20-year-old, for the Wellington women, people that are going to be inspired by this, what would it be?
I'd probably. I took myself just a bit too seriously, probably. I was incredibly driven and quite hard on myself. So I think I would probably say go a bit easier on yourself, and learn to roll with the punches. Some things, you end up, and I think particularly women do that after you've done it, you look back and think, oh, I should have done that better, or I didn't do that well enough. And I think that often prevents you from keeping ahead, focusing on the horizon and doing the next thing. It's important to learn from your mistakes, but we shouldn't beat ourselves up too much if we haven't done it quite perfect the first time.
What about Jacinda when people come at you and just say, look, I'm sick of her?
They don't really do that. They do it on social media when they don't.
But do they not tell you how they're feeling?
Never to my face.
Or Labour. What Labour's a party that hasn't achieved anything. What happens when you get those sorts of comments?
Well, usually on social media you reply to them politely, because that's what you do. But I love a debate. I'd love to know, and one of the greatest things I love doing when it's campaign time is when you meet someone on their front door and they tell you something, and you can just talk it through. And I've spent up to 45 minutes talking about an issue that I care about, to try and understand why someone's adopted that sort of point of view, and to get to understand that. And if it's based on fact and that's their view, that's fine. That's okay to disagree. But I think it's, in this day and age, is the amount of misinformation and disinformation. It's a really important role of an MP is to point people in the direction of more than one source of information. So
is Labour in trouble?
I don't think so, no. No, I don't think so at all. I think when we look at how well we've done through this pandemic, I think it's outstanding to think, we have the lowest death rate in the OECD, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud of being part of a team that helped to do that. And I won't argue it. It has been an incredibly difficult time. But when I look at my parents and people of my parents' generation, that we still have them with us as a result of looking after people and putting people and their health first.
Do you have a question that you would like me to ask you?
Well, if it's women, we got international media on my first Members Bill, which was bereavement leave for miscarriage. And that was really interesting, because female journos around the world picked up on it, and it was unanimously voted on. So it was just this weird sweet spot where no one was against it. Everyone thought it was a good idea.
Bereavement leave for?
Miscarriage. So it just meant that under the Holidays Act, that it added in miscarriage or stillbirth as a reason to be able to take.
Was it not before?
No, it was unclear.
Okay.
How
did you get onto that?
It was a woman who came to Claire Curran who'd had a miscarriage and was declined, and Claire Curran had it as an idea, and when she became the minister, I took it off her and shaped it into a bill, and it's law. Okay. And I get I get cards and letters from women
That's
regularly who said, I just had a miscarriage and I just went and Googled it and found out that it's covered, and I just wanted to say thank you so much.
Holy shit.
And I get like 2 or 3 of those, taper off a bit now, but yeah, things like that's just like amazing.
It's powerful. That really is amazing. And insofar as you being able to get it forwarded, there must have been some other people in Parliament, pick up on that and back you as,
Yeah, well, I'd worked in Parliament in my earlier days as a political advisor, and I know the importance of talking to other parties. I'd learnt that well. So irrespective of how many votes you carry as a party, I think it's really important to show respect and to go and talk to the designated spokespeople in each of those parties, and I did that. So I spoke to Paula Bennett, and I spoke to the Greens, Jan Logie and ACT, and all of them thought it was a great idea. So it was really lovely to have a bill where you have unanimous support for making a change that benefits predominantly women.
And partners.
And partners.
And partners. And you must get some feedback about that. That makes you feel tremendously, happy and that you achieved something there.
Yeah, well, it's nice to know that you do make a difference in someone's life. That means a lot to me. So when you do get a card or a letter from someone who's gone through a pretty traumatising experience, to be able to say that they were able to take the time to grieve and take the time, and they knew they had a right to that. They didn't have to ask for it. They had it in law as a right. Wow.
I met a politician, Michael Wood.
Yes.
And I had this perception, we'd just got this new media company, that he was something else. And then when I met him, he's a really neat, nice, warm, friendly type person.
Oh, he's a great
Looked
guy,
a bit like Michael J. Fox, and really neat. And I was taken by him. Do you find that, do you have a favourite politician, or you have someone maybe from the other side of the house that you kind of like have this perception of, and then you meet them and you go, that is wrong?
Well, you get to know everybody pretty well, being in here.
Even the other guys?
Yeah, you do. And I think that people are always quite surprised, but particularly at select committee when the doors are closed and there's no cameras and there's no televising, you end up having some really good fulsome discussions to get good quality legislation, and people don't see that. They see the show, the pantomime, which is question time, but a lot of the best work in Parliament gets done behind closed doors and select committees.
Oh, you're saying that you work with all the parties in meetings to get things done?
Yeah, quite often.
That must get quite tense.
Yeah, there's often, there'll be quite hard, if there's clear disagreement on a bill, but at a point where, you've had a submission from someone who's pointed out a deficiency in the bill, you can have some really good, robust discussions on what's the best way to fix it so it works. And that's where you get the experience. If someone's a lawyer or a doctor or a teacher or in their previous profession, that expertise, comes forward and is able to inform, better quality legislation.
So you get things done?
Yeah, you do.
Do you think you can get Wellington Live a seat in the press gallery?
In the press gallery? Can't you just kind of pop in, ask Trevor? Surely if you gave him
Well, we have. We've sent about 3 emails, and we have 3, oh no, you need to talk to Peter, you need to talk to John, you need to talk to Simon, and now we're talking to someone in NZME who's going to make the decision. I thought that was quite odd. So maybe we'll ask.
Do you know actually if you go out that door there and around the corner, it's the top level, so you could just pop in there.
I'll come in and have a cup of tea with you when I need it. That is just beautiful to know. I might not be leaving. Graham Bloxham from Wellington Live and Wellington in Your Pocket with Ginny Andersen. Thank you so much for seeing us and for sharing those wonderful stories. We're really enriched and happier for it.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.